Welcome back to Scatterbodge Not Built. So in this one we're going to be looking at Tamiya's BT-01 chassis, taking a look at the different setups. So currently we're in the mid-engine rear-wheel drive. We're going to switch it to front-engine front-wheel drive, and then we're going to end up in front-engine rear-wheel drive for the final setup. First thing you're going to want to do is remove the steering rod, because we're going to be replacing it with the shorter one. So it's pretty simple, just pops off. Now next step, you need to remove the body post front and rear and the bumper. Once that's off, put the steering linkages off the uprights, place that to one side. Now you simply put what was on the rear onto the front. As these have already had screws in, if you turn the screw backwards, you should feel it drop into place of the original threads that were cut, because if you just keep putting them in, you'll end up ripping the threads out. Once you've got that on, pop the arms back on. Now repeat for the front. So same again, backwards until you feel it drop into the thread, and then wind it in. Now for the steering rod. And final piece, the front bumper. And there you have it. It's now front engine or motor, the front wheel drive. Now before we fit the bumper back on, there's one more thing we've got to do, which is flip the diff around. As you can see, there are two different directions, so let's get that sorted. As you can see, the O-rings fell out of the drive cups, so we need to make sure they're back in. As you can see, the big part of the diff is now that side. When it was in the mid-engine rear-wheel drive, it was this way around. Now we put the diff cover back on. Same again, because we've already cut the threads when we first built it. Go backwards until you feel it drop into the thread. And then you can wind it in. Now we have it fully set up in the front wheel drive, front motor configuration. Now we're going to take a look at the front engine or motor rear wheel drive setup. So as we're starting from the front engine, front wheel drive setup, we can start from page 3. If you're in the mid-engine rear wheel drive setup, start at part 1, but basically all you're doing is taking off the steering rod, front bumper, and the 2 sets of turnbuckles or toe arms or steering arms and body mounts. So the first thing we need to do is remove the front bumper and all the mountings for the servo and the electronics and the steering arm as well. We have it removed, put that to one side for now. Now the next thing we have to do is actually remove the steering mount, switch mount and the battery holder mount clips from the bracketry. The next step is now to remove the diff cover and the diff. Once you've removed the diff, you're actually going to want to fit it in the other end. So same again, remove the bottom bumper with 2 screws and the 2 screws to take the diff housing off. Now remember, when we're fitting the rear diff, make sure it's in this orientation. So the high side of it will be on the right. Once you've taken it apart, the whole thing tends to fall apart once the arms come out, which can be a bit annoying. If you turn it on its side, it can help. Once you've got the one side done, flip it back over. Repeat the same on the other side. Push the diff back in. Now we need to remove the motor. The 2 screws underneath. That's the short drive shaft. And there's the motor removed. Now we actually need to split the motor housing and remove the spur gear from the short shaft, because you get a bag of parts specifically for the front engine or motor rear wheel drive setup, which includes a longer shaft that goes through the spur gear. Now we need to remove the little clip just here. That allows us to pull the end cap off, or the coupling, and the pin. Now you can remove spur gear. Now to reassemble the motor housing. Now, along with the parts bag with the longer shaft, spring and the bearing as well, there's also a different set of housings, another coupling and another clip. So for the first part we need to fit the longer shaft into the spur gear. Now bear in mind once again, there are 2 different size pins. So you're going to want to fit the shorter of the 2 pins into this hole on the shaft there. And slide it through into the spur gear. As you can see, it's a snug fit, so if you were to use a longer pin, then you wouldn't be able to get it in there. Now you need to fit the spur gear back into the motor mount, making sure the pin's fully in. Then you're going to take the longer of the 2 pins fit it through the shaft, and we take the coupling. Now this is the same one that we took off, back over until it's fully in place, and we refit the retaining clip. Once fully seated, you'll have no gap there. Same on the other side. Now to fit the new motor case. So fit the larger part first. Then the shorter part. So now we're going to need to fit the bearing, the shim and the spring along with the pin and the coupling. I need to fit the clip. Same as the other ones. Slide them around. And just make sure that you've got no gap there and that they're fully seated. So there are actually 3 different lengths of drive shafts. So this one is for the mid motor rear wheel drive and the front motor front wheel drive. This one, the longer one of the two, is for the front engine rear wheel drive 257mm wheelbase, and we've also got this one here for the 251mm wheelbase. So we're going to be going with this one. And simply slide it through, and then it slots into the diff housing there. Now to fit the motor. So you'll notice there's a spring on there. So that allows you to push on the motor. The little tab. Hard to see, but the little tab just in there allows it to go into place and then slide back, and the drive shaft is still fully engaged. Now I need to screw that into place. Now let's get the bumper back on. Now to fit the other piece of the deck. You can have 2 sides, 2 different pieces here. One has holes for the screws, the other one has actually got holes for pins. So we're going to take this, slot that piece in, and we take our 2 pins, and slide them into place. That's it. This piece now sits on there. 2 screws. That then sits on there. There's 4 screws underneath. Next we're going to fit the battery tray, refit the servo mount and the switch mount as well. And the final step, fitting the battery holders. And there we have it, front engine, rear wheel drive. Still haven't fitted the speed controller, but I'll be getting all that sorted, as well as fitting bearings as well. I've also got a plan for the body, so stay tuned for that one. We'll see you in the next one.